Greetings and salutations, my wonderful freaks, and welcome to another installment of the Tomb of the Terrible. I am your host, Uncle Necro, and with me tonight we do have Delphine, our lovely Jenny over there, and Rasky Slasher. And tonight we are joining and discussing the 2019 New Zealand movie Killer Sofa. From Amazon, when a killer lazy boy chair falls in love with a girl, it's up to a disgraced Jewish rabbi and a couple of broken-hearted detectives to figure out how to stop the bloody carnage that will follow. It's written, directed, shot, and co-edited by Bernie Rao and is distributed by High Octane Pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, we just lost Raz. But I was going to say this is an amazing movie. Another amazing movie, I know, 2 in a row, but This is also another movie that I have seen previously and talked about with Delphine in one of my old podcasts. But let's go ahead and talk about this thing, shall we?
Yes.
This was no moose. I'm just going to say it's no moose.
No.
It's no moose, but it's so good. This movie, once we saw it, it was just like, oh my God, I have got to see this again and again. I own it now, so which is more than I can say for Moose, because every time I talk to people, I'm like, you gotta see this, because the effects are fabulous. And I thought that some of the special effects, like a little bit of before we get into actually the movie, there's some stuff where there's some like kind of it's not lightning, but it's light soul moving stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's not the greatest, but he used Blender to do all of the like the movement of the chair effects and things like that. And there's some great videos if you go to his site, which I did link him either above or below, depending on where you're watching. Bernie Rao is in the links, and you can check out and see kind of how he did the special effects, and it's just amazing. They look fabulous.
They do. Yeah. I'm a practical effects guy. That's my love. I'm all about the practical, but I mean, some of the stuff that he was able to pull off with Blender, and I was impressed, honestly. I may not have loved the movie as much as you guys did, but I can't deny the fact that there was a lot of awesome things about it. So,
the most awesome thing, I think, if you go to the Wikipedia site, it mentions that they only used one recliner. They only had the one recliner, which cost like $100 New Zealand.
Which was $64 US at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of limitations that they could do to not like wreck it, which I found to be amazing.
Because like when you buy something like that, what you usually have to do is you have to buy multiple copies of that item. And one of the things I learned in film a long time ago, this comes right down to your kill weapon. You would think your knife, right? You need one knife or one, murder weapon for your killer. No, you need 10 different copies roughly, sometimes less depending on what you're doing, because different kills require only certain parts of your blade to show. Like I had to do a scene in The Mime where I put a knife through the back of the girl's skull and it comes out of her mouth. Well, what I did is I had to cut it to where the blade only came off that much of the hilt, so I had to grind the whole front half down. The tip I took and glued with food safe glue inside of a football mouth guard. And the way we did the stop and the editing over it was you only see the shot from the back with the knife starting to go in, and then you turn and you see the knife already out of her mouth because it's the mouthpiece. So we had to cut down that blade to different sections. So this lazy boy, really, you're probably looking at wanting like 3 to 5 versions of it in reality. Like to do everything you want to do, you would need 3 to 5 of these fucking chairs. And the likelihood of getting ones that match exactly, no, not unless you're buying them brand new and you're paying like, $500, $1,000 a chair.
Yeah, this sofa, by the way, I'm gonna put up a thing again. Well, it's not a sofa; it's a recliner.
Listen, this movie had a missed opportunity to use the title "Slay Z-Boy." I'm just saying that
their original title, James.
Yeah,
you know it.
Yep, I do know it. Let's go back here. My Lover, My Lazy Boy.
And I
That
thought it was
was
a great one.
But the production feared being sued by the Lazy Boy Furniture Company. After this, the title The Furnishing was then considered, but finally the name Killer Sofa was chosen.
Yeah. But see, I thought about all that with Slazy Boy. They would not have been sued. Technically, because of parody laws, they would have been 100% fine and nothing would have happened. Using the title Lazy Boy, yeah, you'd have gotten fucked on that one. But Slazy Boy has such a nice sound to it.
That does. When the American remake inevitably happens.
Yeah.
They never actually use. He never actually becomes this violent of a chair because, well, they only had the one chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we got some screenshots here, and Bernie Rao did give me permission to use some shots, and I mean we can usually anyway, but it was very awesome of him. Bernie, if you get done watching this, thank you so much, Bernie. And thank you for making this movie. It was awesome. We'd love to have you over sometime.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I see. I remember publishing the original movies and beer podcast that Del and I did years ago, and even he liked the tweet back then, so he's aware of us.
He made us feel super special.
Right.
It was like our first, like, somebody listen, yay! Like yay! somebody beside our friends, listen to us.
Yeah.
Right.
But this is a
Wait,
shot
you guys have
of
friends? I don't have any friends other than who's mostly on the Outlight network already.
Well, my mom.
Yeah.
I hang out with my mom.
That is a great mom.
Yeah.
So, do we want to get into the story about this?
Yeah, I was just going to show a picture of how expressive but we can get into that as we tell the story because I can show the pictures as they occur. So, you want to take lead?
Sure. Okay, so we start out with a opening shot of some guy doing some kind of ritual thing, and some guy comes in, starts chopping up his body parts, and then somebody is bequeathed a Lazy Boy, the titular sofa. We have no idea what happens to the guy. We then learn through dialogue, exposition, if you will, that the guy who gave her the chair was an ex-boyfriend that she had to have a restraining order taken out from. And apparently she's a dancer in her friend's band, I guess.
That was a little convoluted.
She gets into a discussion about it. He was never actually a boyfriend. He was just a friend that kept pushing things.
Okay.
Which this poor girl, Francesca, apparently every man and some women that she's met in her life are all weirdly attracted to her. And they're like, can we go over the list of people that you have restraining orders against? And they hand her a sheet of paper that's just like full of names. And so it's just been, her whole life has been full of people.
Right.
Yeah. That she needs, reaching the point that she needs restraining orders against. So
except for her current boyfriend, I was about to say, sorry about that.
Oh, no.
Which her friend keeps saying, oh, he's gay, but I don't buy that. I think I brought this up with the previous discussion when you and I talked about this a couple of years ago, but I'm saying he's asexual and just,
I can see that. Yeah.
He's there for the companionship, but not really interested in sex. Cause I don't know. They don't do the stereotypical, ooh, he must be secretly this way because, I kind of act the same way.
Right.
Yeah.
I think my issue is like that whole thing with the list of name, all that. That was what I would call an unnecessary information dump that poorly attempted. I guess setting up the characters, the character backstory, which you need some character backstory. You need to find creative, inventive ways to get that out in a movie. But that was a very weird informational dump that also did not make her look like a character you want to root for if you really think about it. Because who has a list of names of people they probably need restraining order, like to that degree? That was a little bit too much of an information dump, and if anything, revealed her also in a bad light to some level as well.
The one thing also with that is, and maybe it wasn't all restraining orders, maybe it was men in her life, because Ralph is mentioned on there, and Ralph is in the band. It's Maxie, her best friend's cousin. So it's like, would you be dancing for somebody who you're? And he definitely shows an obsession with her.
Yeah.
So
I
think perhaps we might have. Maybe it got confused as to whether they were all people that she had a restraining order against, or all just men that she is known to associate with.
Yeah, that are obsessed with her in some way or whatever.
Yeah.
So somehow in her life, and yeah.
But either way you look at it, that list doesn't look as good for her as this whole information dump was supposed to have been crafted to put her. They wanted us to see her in a certain light, to kind of root for her, right? That was kind of the whole point of that whole shtick. And what they did was like, oh yeah, she's had some tough luck in life, but what kind of person is she that she has this kind of like? At some point, you got to stop and look at yourself, and yeah, that did not go over how it was planned. I don't think.
This comes a little bit later in the show too, because we have before that there are terrifying things, not terrifying, gruesome things happening when they're going to deliver the chair. They find like, okay, we're going to go get this recliner. The moving company goes, and as they're getting the recliner, it's like chained up against the wall, and there's a skull with candles and blood, and the whole place reeks and everything. And they're like, oh, we got to move this recliner. And when they're doing so, it like chops into the one gal's fingers that's trying to do it. And that's kind of a gnarly little scene there.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that when it's like, hey, do you need, Maxie ends up taking him, do you need some help moving up that recliner? Nah, TJ will take care of it. He'll help me. And this turns into TJ lugging this whole recliner that's all bound up and stuff up the stairs. Are you kidding me? And she's just kind of walking around. Like, hey, what you doing? You want to hang out?
More character development.
Yeah.
You want to take a shower?
Here's my thing.
Okay.
When you make a movie like this, in my opinion, you can go two routes. You can take it seriously and spend a lot of time doing information dumps and like a lot of character development, or you can go the schlocky B route and make it a true B movie that like you intentionally leave out these things because that's what's done. Like we talked about with Moose and previously, and private conversations we've all had about other movies. And for me, this movie leaned a little bit too much into the making it a real serious thing than so much as making it the full-on B movie that it could have been. And I wanted it to go schlocky B. That's what I wanted so bad from this movie. So bad. But the plot gets complicated as it goes. Overly complicated. The character development, that gets very deep and complicated. And I wanted a fun movie. And it was fun. And there were times when it was fun as hell. And I love the movie. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy it. But all this plotting and development was just a little bit too much, I think.
Well, to be fair, with a name like Killer Sofa, you kind of expect something in the way of B movie schlockiness.
No, however, I wanted it. Yeah, I wanted that B movie schlockiness. Yeah. I needed it because of the title and
like Killer, like Lamageddon.
Yeah.
Or I'll just bring it up again, Velocipaster.
Yep. Or one of my favorite series, Sharknado.
Yes, Sharknado. Is that like the standard now that by which we gauge?
No, Sharknado is how we gauge sci-fi B movies, which is a whole different category of B film. The Sci-Fi Channel has their very own unique flavors. When I think schlocky B, I'm thinking Trauma. I'm thinking Full Moon with like Ginger Dead Man, Moose. I'm thinking now. So like,
Schlocky B is my favorite rapper, by the way.
Schlocky B. I'm gonna become a rapper and name myself Schlocky B, and I'll do like nerd horrorcore rap or something.
I did discover when I was looking up some stuff for this that there is a podcast that rates B horror movies called "Is It Better?" But is it better than Killer Sofa?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they rate everything based upon is it better than Killer Sofa. They don't have a whole lot of episodes out there. The last one I saw was in 2022 when they actually interviewed Bernie Rao. So
See, that's what I do now, but like all our ratings, like I said, the first show we ever did, from now on, I'm going to give it how many mooses I liked. Is it better than Moose to me is
it's like, yeah. My take on this, I think that, again, I'll say it, this film is brilliant. Why? Because it has a name like Killer Sofa. And it even has the picture of the lazy boy with the teeth and the fangs and the blood right
But not
there.
actually seeing it that way in the movie
Right.
was kind of a turnoff. A little bit.
However, the way it was filmed, the way that it was made, the way that it was taken so seriously and so deadpan and straightforward, you have to applaud the fact that when the sofa shows up, it just works.
It does work. I'll give you that. It does definitely work.
Yes. And therein
It-
lies the brilliance. I got to say that you guys in New Zealand, bravo.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite horror comes from New Zealand, to be honest with you. Look at What We Do in Shadows.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite like comedy horrors of all time, and I love the show. But like, that was like to me a real winner. I've seen a lot of great stuff from New Zealand in terms of horror.
Yeah, the movie was
Peter Jackson.
Too. Yeah.
So one of the things that happens in the very beginning before they even get the recliner delivered is they go to the wrong place. They go to this antique store that happens to be run by Maxie, who is Francesca's best friend, and she's in the band or whatever. Her grandfather, who is a rabbi who is dating a voodoo priestess.
As you do.
Which and he comes in contact with the recliner, and it's like, you can't give this to anybody, it's possessed, and and it's a dybbuk, and that's what the whole thing they go with is that it is a dybbuk.
Yep.
And this old hippie man running this furniture store, dating a voodoo, it's actually voodoo balkan, isn't it? But
voodoo.
Okay, it depends on which. Sorry, none of you guys care. So
yeah, I care. Traditional voodoo is voodoo.
But
New
there's
Orleans
a different name for
voodoo.
there's a different
the
name
person
for
that
like
practices it is the booker.
Booker. Okay, there we go.
The priest, yeah.
Thank you. I was getting
There's
all
that the more you know thing again.
So I've actually done full reports
go.
and dissertations on that religion, so I oddly know a lot about it for no reason.
Yeah, I depending on who I'm talking to, it changes. So
I would love to hear your thoughts on the serpent and the rainbow, but that's another discussion entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So,
I love that movie so much.
Fuck that movie. I love the book.
Yeah, my sister let me borrow the book.
Oh, there's a bunny trail we just got on. Yep. Anyway.
So once she gets this recliner delivered, Francesca starts having dreams about the recliner, and she's having erotic dreams about
wet dreams,
her recliner. Yes.
Yeah. First night, and throw on the tunes. It sounds like the
I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
When I get a new recliner in my house, my first thought is, man, I want to fuck that. Like maybe that's just me, or it's her too, apparently.
Well, she wakes up the next morning, and she's walking
in her bed.
In her bed, yes, right. Not with the recliner, but there's a trail of lit candles on the floor that lead her up to, and this, by the way, is our killer sofa, our dybbuk possessed recliner. And he's offering her chocolates and coffee and cookies and flowers.
Our slazy boy, if you will.
Sleazy boy at this point, yeah.
Sleazy boy.
It became a different kind of movie entirely in that one scene.
It did. It was like...
It belongs on furnitureporn.com, which is, by the way, a real website where they just stack chairs on top of each other. That's it. There's no nudity. They just stack chairs or sofas on top of each other and like give you a paragraph of a story, and it's hilarious.
Wow. See, I go for more of the amoeba porn. Subdivision.
Yeah. Ooh, it's splitting. It's splitting.
Ooh, give me that paramecium there. Yeah. Anyway.
I almost wish I had a moaning sound on my board because I would have totally used it just now.
I'm very glad you don't.
So am I, oddly enough. So, Jenny, you've been very quiet so far, almost like you're taking it all in. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts? It's the first time I've actually seen that type of furniture used as a dybbuk.
Okay.
It's original.
I like the idea of using a piece of furniture as a dybbuk, but I expected an entirely different type of chair or something like that.
Like maybe a sofa, perhaps?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you expect the sofa to begin with, but the movie was great. I loved how they made the chair move to do all the things it did.
Yeah.
I'm going to use shots real quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
At this point, somebody is sabotaging her in her apartment, and they aren't looking at the chair, but this is planting things in different parts, and we get these shots back to back.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think you're doing?
Well, this is right before the I'll just call it the fetish scene.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I believe my original notes was what the hell movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We can let that be something that we don't spoil for them.
But in honor of it, if I can find it, I just want to say. Yeah.
Oh,
and that's all we'll say about that. Oh, yeah. Bow, bow.
Definitely better than I expected for a Dybbuk horror movie that's using a piece of furniture that's not attached to a wall.
Yeah.
And once again, let's give praise to the fact that they went with a Dybbuk and not your standard everyday just demon possessed.
I'm divided on
furniture.
this only because the Dybbuk added a super complex layer of information to the story. I liked it, but that's one of the things where I thought it went a little bit too information dumpy at times.
No,
because they went Dybbuk, but I did like that they went with something more unique.
It'll
that somebody put it into the chair instead of it deciding it likes the chair, so it's going to be the chair.
It seemed like both in different parts of the movie, depending on where you're at the film.
The Dybbuk, though, did give us a chance to meet what was it? Tohunga Makuda.
I actually love those skits with him.
Who had these basically. He had all of these little videos about, and this is what the Dybbuk does, and this is how you fight the Dybbuk. Do not fight the Dybbuk if you are not strong, both physically and mentally prepared.
And the old guy on the deathbed just kind of like watching it, like, okay. But his name means no mercy for the rest of your days, by the way.
Was there a musical number?
I mean, I can write you one if it makes you feel better about it.
Ooh, do so.
I'll sing
it.
Pardon what?
Has anybody checked to see if that website was real? I just now thought about it.
We're just gonna keep playing it.
It's on loop.
It's on loop.
Playing it. Yeah, that's not me.
Sorry. I was like, why are we doing that over and over?
Does anybody remember the name of the website? Because I'll look it up right now. I can't remember the name of what it was in the movie.
Well, I'm sure if you put in his name, you could check it out. But
I'm just gonna write Hakuna Matata horror and see what pops up. No, I'm not gonna do that because I really don't think I should be doing that in the search engine right now.
Yeah, no, not without the safe search.
Yeah.
I think it was well enough put together. This sounds stupid, but I think it was put together so well and so specifically for what they were dealing with that it probably does not exist.
Yeah. But that seems like something that I would have done and made it real.
Well, that's you.
Yeah.
And your rats.
Yeah, I'm weird. I take things too far. Way too far. But I like those segments with him. Those segments. Go ahead.
I will go back, rewatch, and then I'll type it in and find out, and then I'll put it on the page.
Cool.
So, yeah.
I like the segments with him, though. Like, I almost kind of wanted to know more about his story. Like, I wanted a movie with him, about him. Like, there was just something about his character and the way they did his segments that I was more drawn in during times when he was on there talking about the Dybbuks and all that. So, like, that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it did give more flavor as well to the grandfather. Maxie's grandpa's name. I wrote it down because I wrote down everything, but I missed it here. Oh, Jack.
Yeah, Jack.
Because I have my notes all around it. Yeah, but Jack and Ashanti, his girlfriend, But Jack, he's a rabbi, and he's calling up his dad Abba, and his Abba, and it's like, you aren't strong enough. You don't even count to call yourself a rabbi, Dad. And he's like, it did give him some depth to try to like explain that yes, he is a rabbi, even if he's a hippie dating a Voodoo lady. He and he looks to his father a couple of times for help, but poor Jack just gets ignored through. We got the same. He doesn't remember. Doesn't that name sound familiar? Nah, it doesn't. It's your daughter's best friend. No, that's something else.
Jack suffered from what we call in the indie horror film industry Ralph syndrome. It's called Ralph syndrome because the first character that was really like this, like the crazy older guy that knew there was something going on and no one listened to them, was Ralph in the Friday the 13th series. And it's one of the reasons why there was always that crazy guy, you're going to die. And in the beginning of the movie,
yes.
It's
you're doomed. You're all
it's,
doomed.
Yeah.
And he just
it's Ralph syndrome. He literally had Ralph syndrome, which is normal. That's a shtick that you want in a cheesy horror film. That's important. It's a note you got to hit.
He was a very good.
In the meantime, yes, I would like the regular instead of the crispy. Doomed.
We have to get that song.
So what kind of video game do you like to relax to? Doom. Anyway.
This makes me think, because we talk about musicals and everything like that, we need to cover Poultrygeist, which is a great indie B movie from Troma involving it's exactly what it sounds like. Yep.
Also a musical.
Yep. It's brilliant.
I'm not for any musical.
You may vomit a couple times while watching this movie, but it is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Do not eat while watching this.
Yeah. I ate KFC and watched the damn movie, and I was fine, but I know other people were not.
I remember when I first saw it, I believe my exact look was this.
Like, what the fuck am I watching?
So,
thank you for that one, Uncle Lloyd.
Another one of my favorite things with this movie, and it goes back to the effects again, is that the chair, dun, 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 it can move in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And the book apparently doesn't just have control of like moving the chair around, but each of its pieces can be used. It shoots springs from itself that it uses in interesting ways, and then is able to like kind of pull itself back together, which is so glorious in the ways that it's used. Because they didn't have to do, like I said, he did a lot of it on Blender, and so they saved a lot in special effects there. And you're amazing, by the way, at Blender. I can't even make a cube.
Yeah, that was fucking amazing.
I tried really hard, but seeing all the different ways that they manipulated the chair and did it like not in ways that like a super lazy boy, like, okay, shit, I'm a chair. Gotta move around by sticking things and leaning. And
to say nothing of those scenes where he's taking the body and throwing it over the back. Just weak.
But he's got to load the body onto himself and then drag himself across and then catch on the planners and the chair's moving. And
right,
they used the limitations of a chair very well.
Yeah,
it was surprisingly well done. Like very well done.
It freaked me out, and I'd sent him some pictures of this, Uncle Necro over there. After I'd watched this movie, and it came out in 2019. And so it was during the COVID time, we'd watched it and stuff. And I was hanging out over at my mother's place, sitting on her deck. And the neighbors across the way were a bunch of college guys and stuff. And they had a fire pit and everything. And they drug out a similar lazy boy that they used for sitting outside with. It didn't have the button eyes. But other than that, I'm like, look over there. They got the chair. We got the killer sofa. And I couldn't find them. They're like on my old computer stuff. But
it's fucking hilarious, man.
Yeah.
I just snuck over there in the middle of the night and like put little eyes on it.
I mean, total missed opportunity.
I mean, they make those big Google eyes now.
No, you can just get like big button circles that are just like you put it on there, like black ones like that, like it had, man.
Black like the soulless shark.
Yeah.
That make a shark? They had they did use the reflectiveness of the eyes really well.
Yes.
Because they're like little, if you pay attention to the eyes as you're watching it, they're like people trapped in them, or like when they're looking through a keyhole or something to see, and there's like the eye of the chair staring back through. It's just beautiful.
I'm not sure if you guys caught this the other day. Speaking of sharks, a quick little mini rabbit hole kind of situation, squirrel den, whatever you want to call it. The other day, they found they've been doing a lot of intelligent studies on sharks and marine life. This is not new information. They've been doing this forever, right? Well, a shark was able to actually write a small and short book through communication. And it recently got published. It's called How to Make a Shark. Sorry.
You don't
saw an
even get
opportunity
a
for a dad joke there. That's fine.
Awkward turtle. Awkward turtle.
Oh, I didn't show you guys my new thing.
Oh, that's
neat.
I like
They
that.
actually sell this in gas stations all across the country right now.
Okay, move it up closer.
I can't move it too close because of my thingy, but yeah.
Wow.
I think it's pretty cool. Saw
Okay.
the gas station today. They have
Nice.
Sorry, it was an owl. I had to show you. I kept forgetting.
Owls everywhere.
You know where owls like to hang out? On recliners. In barns. Yeah. That's my weak segue back into recliners.
Dead silence. We need like
Awkward turtle.
crickets. Okay, Jenny, you've got to come up with something.
Give me something.
I've got a
Okay, you want me to
squirrel.
come up with something? Okay, here's the squirrel. The owl I had showed you earlier, they had said it was Martha's, and she still has no idea where it actually came from. So the wooden owl literally just appeared out of nowhere when we moved. There's my awkward squirrel section.
That is awesome, man.
Dresser people coming to get you. I'm
Yes.
spreading them across the nets.
It's either your dresser people or the grandmas, because now we've added one. So yeah.
I'd fear the grandmothers even more.
Yeah, considering they understand
you-
a whole lot more than I do.
They can knit you into their own little trap.
They'll knit you into another dimension.
So we've kind of been talking around the movie, and yeah, we don't want to totally spoil it for you, but the reason people get concerned isn't just because the chair offers her chocolates and things. There are murders
Yeah.
and such taking place,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
she is becoming obsessed with the chair. And the police, detectives Gravy and Grape, get involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't know exactly why they chose those names, but okay. That's
Because
fun.
they were cardboard characters and their names did not matter.
Well, are you sure that's not just, their, undercover names?
Could be.
Like their
Undercover
code names?
Gravy.
Like
Yeah.
code names? Undercover Gravy.
I want to write a story now called Undercover Gravy.
Yeah.
Something like the movie The Stuff from the 80s. But with gravy. Yes. The thing is, like, this movie has got like an 80-minute runtime.
Yes.
And they spend so much time focused on information dumps that, like, if we go too far into that, I'm also worried that we're going to give too much of the movie away, like you were saying. So we have to kind of talk it around it a little bit. But I mean, that's the main thing here, guys. There is a recliner that's murdering people.
Is
And-
possessed.
And I'd like
Kinda
to
has
talk
a
about
body
the
in there.
a little bit, but I'm trying to figure out what parts of it are safe to talk about and what not to talk about. And I know, again, like, I don't believe in spoilers past like a year or so out. But with indie film, it's different because not everyone has indie film as accessible as Hollywood. So the spoiler rule, in my eyes, kind of changes a little bit when you're discussing indie films. Now, if it was like 10 or 15 years ago, maybe a different story. But like, this is like 2018, 2019, this came out. So it's still moderately fresh, and it's just got new life on Tubi. So a lot of people are rediscovering it or discovering it for the first time. So I don't want to completely screw that up for anybody, but there were parts in the end that kind of dropped my personal rating for the movie down a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a couple convoluted spots in the end where they added some things to that kind of irritated me a little bit.
Okay.
I can say this without giving it away, and you guys will understand because you freshly watched it. What gets revealed at the very end, as far as the chair is concerned, as far as
And see, the first time I watched it, I was just like, Whoa.
I think I
I
can
was
safely say
not
the
expecting that.
stuffing in the chair. Let's just call it that, because like
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
not a spoiler, but you guys will get what I'm saying. That
Yeah.
irritated me a little bit. If I'm being completely honest, I thought that kind of took me out of the whole thing a little bit and dropped it down by at least 2 mooses for me. Just the way they kind of played that out towards the end. That it also kind of killed the spirit, the whole concept of the Dybbuk box as a chair thing for me a little bit too.
And it enhanced it for me after I watched it the second time. Yeah.
Watching it the second time is when I noticed it more and I thought about it more, and that's when it irritated me more for some reason. So yeah, we went opposite directions on that one.
Okay.
Yeah. There was the word. Well, okay. James and I have seen a lot of terrible exorcisms, and I'm sure that you guys have too. Like this does count though as one of the worst attempts at an exorcism that I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I think
not as so bad it's good, but just a bad.
Just a oh God, what are you doing? Really?
Right.
And yeah, it kind of that's a great scene. I mean, it's hysterical, but it's terrible at the same time.
But for a movie that's been trying to take itself somewhat seriously, the fact that it's a funny moment, an unintentional, I think, funny moment, is kind of hurts it a little bit.
Poor Jack.
Because they added a lot of stuff into Dybbuks that weren't really a thing. It's like they had a concept for what a Dybbuk was. And this was a time period when this movie was being made, not only when it was released, when there was a ton of movies coming out about Dybbuks. A ton of them. And if you look in the indie world, there's a ton of Dybbuk movies that were all being made around the same time.
Okay.
It's like a 5-year span. And most of the movies had the common elements of what a Dybbuk actually was, but some of them, like Killer Sopa, kind of went off on the edge a little bit and added some stuff to the mythology of what a Dybbuk is. Not completely, but there were just some additions that kind of weakened the actual mythology of what a Dybbuk or a Dybbuk box is. And they started off strong. They even ended, they fixed it back at the end because they brought that Hakuna Matata guy back. And he did a whole thing where he went back into the Dybbuk box and brought it back on track again. He brought it back on track. But that ending part, like there towards the end, when that big reveal happens, it's kind of like,
how did that not get noticed?
Yeah. Like I'm sorry, but like that would have been easily noticed. Like there for a lot of different reasons. Again, that I can't tell you without giving it away. But there's a lot of reasons why that should have been noted pretty early on. Even for a schlocky B movie, there should have been some clues.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Personally, I kind of like the ending, but then again, again, like Del said, that she and I have seen a lot of bad movies and badly handled endings, let's just say, if not the entire movie.
We watch some terrible things.
And sometimes that actually happens to good movies, because I remember watching, everybody's watched The Last Exorcism, right?
Mm-hmm.
That ending that was tacked on, obviously.
The first one, right? Not
right,
the sequel.
The first one. That ending that was clearly tacked on.
Mm-hmm.
That
was a great. I would consider it a great movie up until then.
Yeah. So
this wasn't that bad. This ending to me wasn't that offensive. It was just, but the very ending.
I can understand, I can understand the writing yourself into a corner with the ending like this, because you're like, okay, we got all this. How do we end this? Because I know a lot of writers have problems with, how do I end this?
Yeah, it's hard. Endings are hard. I mean, look at Stephen King gets made fun of all the time and makes fun of himself in his own movies about how he's terrible at endings. Like, this is a known thing. Like, everyone struggles with how to end something.
But
it's normal.
At least he has a good sense of humor at chapter 2.
Yeah.
So
I love that part. Yeah.
So, yeah, but as far as endings go, as far as ridiculousness, it didn't kill it for me.
What an exercise I always do, especially with B movies, and again, I'm very forgiving of B movies, not so much of Hollywood movies, but I'm extremely forgiving of B movies because that's predominantly what I've been a part of making in my whole life.
Right.
So there are elements to look at. One is not necessarily the ending as a whole. It doesn't usually completely kill a movie for me, like in any movie. It's just could I have written it better, and how would I have written it, and how would that have affected the movie? And if I can in 5 minutes come up with something that would have fixed everything and just bam off the rip, I got to knock it off a couple points. If it's that easy to come up with an ending. If I've got to think for longer than 5 or 10 minutes on how I could have done it differently, I give up. I'm like, okay, I liked it. But with this one, I had that moment where it was like 2 or 3 minutes tops. I was like, I could have done this, this, and that, and it would have been a better ending, and I think it would have added to the movie. So that's why I'm knocking off points for that ending, and because it got a little confusing. Even the very, very, very ending, if you really stop and think about it, it's kind of fucking confusing. Okay. I like the very ending more than I like the reveal part I'm talking about, but even it was a little bit convoluted, a little bit.
Okay, Jenny.
We also.
Oh, sorry.
It's almost like there could be more added, like a continuance to explain a few things or to find out what else could be done with what was seen in the eyes, what's still there.
Yeah.
There is definitely a way to the couple that walked off, they could definitely, there's more there. And why not bring in the guy from the website? Why not have some way to call him in and do something more?
We want number 2.
Yeah,
we've seen teasers of number 2, so
yeah.
So that would be nice. I haven't seen anything except for posters teasing it with a 2 on it, but some of them are on his website, so it would be cool to see. And one of the things that I'm gonna grab off of that, though, for what you were saying about writing things differently, is when we're going back to the $64 recliner, which was the only one that they bought.
Yeah.
There, if you look in the trivia on, it'll tell you on IMDb, and it'll also tell you on Amazon Prime when you're watching. They just add a bunch of trivia to the side. But there were scenes that were supposed to be in the movie, but they realized as they were going to film them that it would utterly destroy the recliner, where they could not keep it used again.
And that totally makes sense.
And so that took away from some of the potential that they had for ending things. They had to do things in a very specific way to get them done.
I can see that. Like when you write the script, you got to think about your budget. And that's another big pitfall for B movies. If you're going to do a B movie, you got to look at your budget. If you don't have much, don't pick an item that you can't easily replicate for cheap, because that limits you, and you're only going to be able to make even a movie that I can make for $500 to $1,000. Okay. I'm still going to make sure that it's something that I can replicate easily, cheaply, or for free. Even if it's just I get a shitty recliner, but I have like 5 of them, right? But I use one specific recliner cover, like furniture covers, on it.
Okay.
So like there are little things that you could do like that to save your budget and still have more chairs. Of course, it's a little bit of a cheap out if you're using the recliner cover. But what if it's the recliner cover itself that's what's possessed and not the actual recliner? So then you could literally put it on any recliner and make like 2,000 movies out of it. So like there's different angles and things that you can look at that could increase and help with the budget in order to fix a problem like this. But because they only got one recliner, they limited the fuck out of themselves of things they could have done to definitely make this a better movie and have a way better ending. But I think if they do a sequel, I'd like to see maybe more than one recliner of different patterns. Or what have you, go at it head to head, because I think with this kind of ending, I think we can easily get a recliner versus recliner moment. And I think that would be pretty epic and hilarious, and have this guy, like Jenny's saying, the guy from the videos actually come in as a consultant and actually be a part of like the whole thing. I think that could like really take this to another level and be the movie that this one should have been, and had every rights to be. Like it was all set up. Like the writing wasn't terrible. It was it was B writing. Like they had a lot of good things going for it, and most of the actors, as cheesy as this was, there wasn't any bit of acting where I was like, okay, that took me out of the movie. That was so terrible, which is also normal for B movies. But I can't even say that about this. Like they were all dedicated to what they were doing, and everyone across the board did a really good job.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now, the big question that I did write down, just to see if anybody has any thoughts on this. So, comparing Killer Sofa with, say, any other haunted furniture movie out there, and I'm thinking specifically of Amityville: The Evil Escapes, that TV movie that they made,
or Dollhouse, Amityville Dollhouse.
Dollhouse, yes. Anything? I'm guessing there's so many movies with Amityville tagged to the front.
Can we also include things like
There's
the haunted furniture they had in the Friday the 13th series, the TV show?
sure.
Or like Warehouse 13 and
Like that radio.
yeah.
Yeah. Or like the Mangler.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So
Okay.
this holds up pretty well.
Okay, I'm not sure which of the Amityville made for TV specials it was, but the one that I showed it to you. I know I'm not sure if I showed it to Raz and Jenny. It was before I met you, but I watched it because it came out at almost the same time, like a week before the latest in the Amityville series was coming out. And it was like a guy working construction on the Amityville house brought home like 1 2x4 to use in building something. And like they had like totally this priest driving around in a car wearing a from Walmart like $5 plastic devil mask and stuff. And there's the drunk dad drinking from all of these bottles of water, including like the Jägermeister bottle was clear liquid inside of it. And it was the worst thing not actually, but it was one of the worst things I've ever seen done.
I was going to say, we both watched Mandy the Haunted
Doll. Yeah. But if you set the bar down there, the killer sofa,
comes in high.
Is way up, way up. Now, some of the other things, it might drop a little down below those, but it worked solid. It moved well. It looked good. Like you said, it got a little tangled up in how deep it didn't quite decide whether it was going to be a deep film or try for schlock.
It tried for both at different points, but never fully committed to either for me.
I had moments where, and I'm going to say when Maxie is hanging out towards the end, there's a moment that I won't spoil it for people, but that'll give you guys a clue as to what I'm talking about. People are just like, "How are you doing?" And she's like, "What's going on?" And nobody notices anything, and they just keep going with it. Those were the little things that had me just chortling, I guess, would be.
Because that's those moments where they were trying to push more of the schlocky.
Yeah.
And then the very next scene would be information dump and serious, and you're like, again, not bad. It just, I think if they would have picked one direction and just gone that route, or at least made everything that was happening schlocky, but they kept the character serious, like that kind of in between, like dedicated to it, that would have fixed some of the issues that I had. It's a pick a lane situation.
So here's an idea.
Okay.
So for a sequel, just throwing it out there, that the lazy boy sofa, whatever you want to call it, it's taken to, well, we have Goodwills over here. I don't know if like New Zealand.
They have secondhand stores,
okay.
like,
Okay, they're taken to a secondhand store where the evil infects all of the other furniture, and the furniture rises up.
So basically what you're talking about is a rubber 2 scenario.
Yes.
Okay.
Wait,
they
made a rubber 2.
No, okay, they didn't make a rubber 2, but the way rubber 1 ends, and we got to cover rubber at some point.
Yes,
but
we do.
The way rubber ends, man, it leads you to believe that there's going to be millions of tires and things made out of rubber based on Robert's body, and then they're all going to be possessed. But that's kind of how that's the vibe it gives off.
Yeah.
And see, when I was little, I would go
with the whole story.
I would go up to Takema and hang out with my grandparents a lot. And Grandma would take us down to their version of the secondhand store, the thrift store, whatever that they had down in Takema. And they had little grab bags for like $1. You could get a grab bag, and we'd each get a grab bag. But every time I was there, I'd look up, and they had one of the talking dolls, ventriloquist dummies.
Okay.
The same one as they have in Magic.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
And I would always look at it and be like, I am terrified of that, but I want it so bad. And it was up on a top shelf so that kids couldn't run in and break it, because it was obviously an antique one.
Right.
But I never got that. But having that inside the haunted thrift store would be, we already had Magic, but those creep the shit out of people just for existing.
I'm a big
You know?
fan of like weird roadside attractions going through different highways and stuff. And between here and Kentucky, there on 75, right off 75, there is the it's a ventriloquist dummy museum. The whole museum is just been.
Wow.
It is one of the creepy and most fucked up things that I've ever experienced as a roadside attraction, man. And like I'm
Nope.
telling you, like it is.
No,
I don't like dolls, like doll rooms, for reasons it'll take me an hour to explain to you, so I won't. But
Oh, I
ventriloquist museums are 10 times worse. If you've ever had to stay at over at a relative's house and the only bed available was in the doll room, that is nothing in comparison to the ventriloquist museum. Nothing.
I don't
It is
understand
disturbing.
dollar rooms. I really don't understand them.
Yeah, me either, but they're terrifying, and I had to sleep in many, and I'm not a fan. But it just reminds me of that James Wan movie he did, Dead Silence, that was about
Yeah.
that was
Oh, that was
early
good.
movie,
That movie made me hyperventilate.
dude. That was
It was a good movie, but
that's the movie that made me fall in love with James Wan. Like I liked him before, but like that's the movie that made me just fall in love with that man, like his work, like just straight up. But again,
So Bernie,
we're off track again.
We're feeding you ideas.
not really. Anyway,
We're trying.
we're getting to that time there. Would you recommend anybody and anyone, anything to go out and watch Killer Sofa?
Yes, my mother would not enjoy it because she hates anything with gore in it, but I would suggest it to any member of my family other than her, and pretty much every friend that I have. I'm going to be putting links in to different private like chat things that I have to encourage people, like go watch it on Tubi, or be like me and be obsessed and buy it on Netflix. It's only like $5
on Netflix. You mean Amazon?
Not Netflix, Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Too many different streaming networks
There
these
are.
days. But yeah, it's definitely one of those, like, if you like bad horror, well, not even bad horror,
It's
because
not
it
really
has
bad horror, no.
yeah, it's good horror with humor involved and great effects. I know I keep going back to that, but that was what really sold me on the movie the first time enough to be like, yeah, let's watch this again. Let's do it.
Oh, the name drew me in. I definitely I want to watch this just by the name itself. But fortunately, it was a really good movie.
Like a score at 1 to 10. What do you give it?
Me? Oh,
Dell. Sorry, we're on Dell right now.
sorry.
Yeah,
we're
everybody in
okay.
general. I'm curious.
Okay.
I would give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Maybe even an 8.5.
Okay.
There were a couple of moments that drug a little bit, but overall, yeah, it's one of my tops. And I don't give a 10 ever, really.
I gave a rare 10 to Moose the other day. I'm still surprised at myself for that because I usually don't give perfect scores either.
Okay, next.
Jenny?
I give it 7 chainsaws.
Some chainsaws.
Nice. Why 7?
There were parts of the story that didn't quite mesh well. Some of the things just drug on a little bit, and like, why do we need to know this type of things? Other than that, I do plan on watching again and continuing to share it with my friends, because I ended up having a conversation I didn't expect to have with one of my friends. It's like, oh, you and your husband watched it? Awesome. Come to the show.
Nice.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a great conversation starter though. And I appreciate that. Thank you for introducing it to me, guys.
You are welcome.
James and I are like, we got you covered in all things like this.
And
we did it.
I did it for Johnny, but
okay, Raz.
I got to change my background and get serious for a minute. Hold on. All right. So I'm going to give this movie 6 out of 10 mooses. Because that's how I cite everything in life now. For all the reasons I explained is why I'm giving it a 6. It was a solid 8 for me, honestly, until the reveal close to the end. That like I, again, without giving spoilers away that I've already previously explained. Even though it's only a 6 out of 10, this is still a rewatchable. This is like every couple years I haven't seen it in a bit, I'm going to put it on and show it to other people that haven't seen it. I'm still going to talk to people about it because people should go out and see this. this could have easily been an eight and a half, 9 movie, 9 moose movie for me easily. But again, the restraints with one recliner kind of changed a lot of things and made it a little bit tough at parts. Now, in my opinion, the best way to watch this movie is to get, imbibe your chemical of choice and focus on just the action, man. Like what's going on with the chair. Like it is pretty epic if you do that. Like the first time I watched it, that's how I watched it. So this time around, I actually paid a lot more attention to dialogue and, those kind of things. But I enjoyed it a lot more when I just turned my brain off and got really stoned and just kept my eyes on the chair. So if you keep your eyes on the chair, man, I think this is easily going to be an 8 or 9 moose movie for you, like straight up.
Keep your eyes on the chair. But
unless you're really into recliners, like in a special way, and then it might be a 10.
I'm more of a Barca lounger man, but yeah.
I like a nice chase lounge myself, all those folds.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, anyway.
So,
right.
yeah.
So,
James.
Okay. Uncle Necro here. So, I first watched this a couple of years ago, and I loved it then. Rewatching it now, it still holds up for me. Still a great movie. I give it an 8.5 Lazy Boys.
One of them's just missing the legs.
Yeah, pretty much. One of them just doesn't fold out.
Broken
that
lazy
mechanism,
boy.
Man.
Yeah. So.
I gotta say, there was a time I actually worked for the Lazy Boy Furniture Company, like doing delivery and repairing chairs in the back. So, like, you'd be surprised what little thought goes into creating the mechanisms for these things and how easily you can repair it in 5 minutes at your home with a screwdriver. It's crazy. To see when murdering people was extra fun for me, I think.
All right.
Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed us tonight. Look for links above and below, depending on where you're looking at us. Please like and subscribe for us on YouTube and on Facebook. And we have a Twitch page, and we're on Twitter. And our gal's Friday down here has hooked us up with every form of social media that we can come up with currently. So find us somewhere. Also, thank you, Bernie Rao, and check out some of the videos on how he did this, because you'll be amazed by all the stuff that you have to go through to do it. And come to our Discord. If you join our Discord, we have sections set up for every show going on. You can give us suggestions. You can tell us what you thought of the shows. Tell us what movie you'd like to watch next and have us talk about. I mean, you can do that on the other things as well. Feel free to comment wherever. We'll get it. We'll get back to you. But we're trying to build this up and get things going again strong with Elliott. So
yeah,
I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. And anybody else have anything before we sign off?
I just want to say chairs are people too.
Be kind to your chair. Clean it up
clean it up when you're done.
That's what Scotch guarding is for.
Nope.
And now I'm thinking about my grandmother who covered everything in plastic.
I know you have to wonder why. I'm kind of reminded of Clerks, Kevin Smith, after Dante's cheated on his girlfriend, and Randall looks at him and goes, "Dude, I'm going to use the word chairs instead of girls, though. There's a lot of chairs out there, but not all of them will bring you lasagna to work."
And on that note,
or cookies.
Yeah, in this case, cookies.
Yeah. Thanks for showing up, everybody, and have a good night.
Later.
See ya.